Firelands, Firelands, Firelands. Man, this is one hot instance. You've got the Firelord Ragnaros, Alisrazor, the Firebird thing, this magma giant duder, and Shannox, some hunter boss who seems to be completely unrelated to fire. Well, except for his two terribly named dogs. Okay, I guess. I'm Kinaesthesia, and today I'll be going over the strategy for Shannox, the first boss in the Firelands. Note, for future reference, companies named Blizzard probably shouldn't design fire-based raid instances. It seems appropriate that Shannox can be done as the first boss. I mean, one of these things is definitely not like the others. We'll show you how to put down two unruly dogs, then teach Shannox that next time he should spay or neuter his pets. This one is for you, Bob Barker. Shannox is really a one-phase fight with the main boss and two adds. There are, however, big changes that occur in the encounter toward the end, which can make it feel like a two-phase fight. Shannox has around 80 million HP, while each of his dogs, Riplimb and Rageface, have around half that much with 40 million. You'll want to bring 2 to 3 tanks, 5 to 7 healers, and a balanced DPS makeup. Let's take a look at this guy's abilities. We'll start by covering Shannox's abilities, then move on to his aptly named dogs. For starters, Shannox is a hunter. As such, he will constantly attempt to trap members of your raid in his Immolation Trap and Crystal Prison Trap. Both will be shot or dropped at the feet of a random player. They do not immediately arm, so there is time to move out of the trap. Immolation Trap deals moderate fire damage when triggered and leaves a mild fire dot. Additionally, it increases fire damage taken for a short period of time. Crystal Prison Trap will trap any player who triggers it in a block of magma crystal. They will not be able to move or use any abilities. Other players will have to DPS the magma crystal to free the trapped player. It is important to note that both of Shannox's dogs, Riplimb and Rageface, can trigger the traps if they pass over them. Arcing Slash is a frontal sweep attack that deals high melee damage in a wide arc in front of the boss. Players hit by this ability will be afflicted with the Jagged Tear debuff, a physical dot that ticks for a mild amount, but stacks. In a feeble attempt to be a good pet owner, Shannox will occasionally play fetch by tossing his spear to Riplimb via his Hurl Spear ability. Any player struck by the spear takes very high physical damage, while all players within 50 yards of his landing spot will take moderate fire damage. Molten eruptions are caused each time the spear is thrown, and players hit by these will take moderate fire damage as well. There is good news, however. Riplimb will stop attacking to retrieve the spear for Shannox. Once both of Shannox's dogs have been killed, he will proceed to go into a frenzy, increasing his physical damage and attack speed. He will cease to throw his spear, which is probably good as there will be no dog alive to retrieve it, and will instead occasionally plunge his spear directly into the ground below him. All normal spear damage and effects will still occur. If all dogs go to heaven, is there a special section of doggy heaven for hellhounds? Who knows. Both dogs have a primary ability throughout the fight. I'll leave it up to you to figure out which ability goes with which dog. Limb Rip deals high melee damage to a player and afflicts them with the same Jagged Tear debuff applied by Shannox's Arcing Slash. Face Rage causes the hound to jump on a random player and claw at their face. It will deal mild physical damage every half second, but increases over time. He will not stop until hit for at least 40,000 damage with a single attack. To help facilitate this, he is more susceptible to being crit while busy face raging. Riplimb can be taunted and tanked, but Rageface will randomly switch targets throughout the fight as he searches for a good face to rage on. Both dogs can be trapped in Shannox's hunter traps, but will break themselves free of the magma crystal in short time. Finally, both dogs will use the ability Frenzied Devotion if they are not dead when their master's health reaches 30%. This will increase their damage by 200% and their movement speed by 100%. Before starting the fight, you'll need to clear quite a bit of trash to provide a large safe area to execute the encounter. And that won't be possible if Molten Giants, Lava Surgers, and Tortugas del Fuego are strolling through your arena. Begin by having the main tank pick up Shannox and Riplimb. These two mobs will both be tanked throughout the course of the fight, while Rageface will be left to run around the raid. The tank will gain stacks of Jagged Tear somewhat quickly since Riplimb and Shannox both apply it, so the off tank must be ready to taunt both mobs off of him. Throughout the whole fight, DPS has two things to make sure they avoid. Traps will constantly be launched at the feet of random players. There is a 2-second arming period to move away from the trap before it can be triggered. In addition to this, when Shannox throws his spear, a molten eruption will occur. The dangerous areas are indicated by circular lines of fire on the floor. Make sure not to stand on this, and instead move to the safe spots between the circles. One of the most important aspects of this fight is making sure that Shannox's dogs are killed before he reaches 30%. If they remain alive past this point, they will become exceptionally powerful. Killing them will make Shannox stronger, but this is something the raid can deal with much easier. The raid can opt to focus down Shannox then his dogs, or focus down the dogs then Shannox. We recommend splitting DPS to handle them all at once. Ranged DPS will want to begin the fight by DPSing Rageface. Since he has no primary aggro and instead darts from player to player, they will be free to go all out on him. This also ensures that his face rage ability, which requires him to be hit for 40,000 damage with a single attack, will always be broken immediately. Melee, on the other hand, can begin by DPSing Riplimb. He's tankable, so aside from his breakaways to fetch Shannox's spear, he will always be in melee range. This also allows melee to cleave damage onto Shannox and speeds up the encounter overall. Of course, they will need to be careful with aggro, but this should not be too big of an issue. The traps can be utilized to increase DPS on Shannox's dogs or to help control them, but when executed properly, this is not entirely necessary to complete the fight. It is more important that players try to avoid these ground effects than utilize them. Inevitably, one side's DPS will be ahead of the other, and this is not a big problem. Just make sure to leave some wiggle room for mistakes. Yeah? Pretty sure I just said wiggle room. And switch targets when appropriate. For example, bring both dogs to 5% health and Shannox to 35%. Then kill both dogs and switch all DPS to Shannox for the remainder of the fight. Do not kill the dogs too long before Shannox is at 30%. The transition needs to be fast and smooth. Once both dogs are dead, Shannox will gain a damage buff. Aside from the buff, however, the fight does not change at this point. Continue avoiding ground effects and burn down the boss. Burn down the boss? We can't seriously use that line for the whole Firelands tier. Nope. Come up with new phrase for burn down the boss until next tier rating. Shannox isn't the toughest boss in Firelands, and we doubt your raid will have a lot of trouble getting him down. For more tips, tricks, strategies, and poorly disguised puns, make sure to bookmark us at LearntoRaid.com, subscribe to us on YouTube, and follow us on Twitter and Justin TV. As always, we hope this guide was helpful, and we'll see you at the next boss.
I wasn't feeling so good. I just didn't feel like playing anymore. So I went home, and I got all comfy and cozy and all scrunched up in front of my phonograph. And I sat there and I closed my eyes and listened to all the sweet music.